Hi kids, it's Mrs. Fravel. How are you? Good. Okay, today we're going to talk about macromolecules. What's a macromolecule? Well, you know what molecules are, right? Macromolecules are big molecules. That's what their name means. The word part macro just means big. And molecules are things made of more than one kind of atom. Okay, so we're going to talk about what are the molecules that are made of CHNOPS. Remember CHNOPS from a while ago? Carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen, oxygen, phosphorus, and sulfur. Those are the main building block atoms and elements of life, and they combine in different ways to actually build the structures that make a living body and also make the molecules that make those bodies work. So here we go. You should have open on another tab or print it out so that you can be writing on it the macromolecules notes. There's a few questions to answer first, and then there is a table to fill out as I go through what each macromolecule is, does, and what it's made of. Okay, all right, here we go. So let's talk a little bit about how large molecules are made of smaller molecules. So large molecules like macromolecules and organic macromolecules in particular are made of smaller component parts called monomers. Okay? So monomers are smaller molecules that are bonded together to make a large macromolecule. We call the large macromolecule a polymer. Okay, so monomers are like, that word kind of means single part. Polymer means many parts. So monomers get together and through a process called polymerization, turn into a big chain of monomers called a polymer. Okay. So monomers are like building blocks. They're like Legos that you would use, single little gray Legos to make a Millennium Falcon, right? Those are the monomers. The Millennium Falcon would be your polymer, your macromolecule, the most awesome one in the universe, right? And each macromolecule that we're going to talk about, and there's 4 types, each of them is made of a different kind of monomer, combination of monomers. And these polymers, again, they're a chain of monomers that are bonded together through polymerization. So let's talk about what those macromolecules actually are. There's 4 types of macromolecules that build living things. The first kind is lipids. Second, carbohydrates, proteins, and nucleic acids. So you need to write all 4 of those in your notes. Make sure you know how to spell them properly. That's important. And then take a moment, pause me, and take a minute to brainstorm an example of each of those. What do you think a lipid might be? What's a carb? What's a protein? What's a nucleic acid? That's a big word. Go ahead and pause me, brainstorm some things, get a drink of water, send a Snapchat, and then come back. Okay, I paused too. Okay, so now we're going to go through each one of those individually. You should have a table on your notes, and you're going to fill in for each of them the name of the macromolecule, examples of that macromolecule, and the elements it's made of, and its functions. Okay, so fill in the table. I did just the first box in the table to show you what you should be doing. So the first macromolecule we're going to talk about are lipids. And what's a lipid? What is a lipid? That's a fancy word that includes fats, oils, cell membranes are made of lipids, hormones, and also waxes are a lipid. Okay? And the function of lipids is to provide energy storage and also to provide structure. And this is long-term energy storage. It holds a lot of electrons in the bonds between the carbon and hydrogens in lipids, and that stores energy for use later if needed in a body. And then also structure. So your cell membranes are made of fats. Every cell in your body, every cell in a plant's body, every cell in a fish's body, and in your dog, these are all made from cell membranes that are made of a special kind of lipid called a phospholipid, and it ends up being a molecule that is like a little head with little tails. We're going to talk more about cell membranes in the next unit, but just so you know, the fats are generally a polar molecule, and they have a non-polar end and a polar end, and they tend to repel water at one end and be attracted to water at the other end. Okay? Lipids are made up of a monomer called fatty acids. So they are fatty acid chains. The molecular formulas and the molecular structure, they look like this. Okay? They have an acid, and then they have this chain of fats, and they are made up of the elements CHO. So that's carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen, and you can see all of those there. And there's two kinds of fats. There are saturated fats and unsaturated fats. And saturated fats are solid at room temperature. Unsaturated fats are liquid. And the difference is this little bond right there between two carbons. They'll be double bonded, and that bends the molecule. And if that is not there, we get what's called saturated fat, because it is all of the hydrogens, all of the carbons are bonded to another hydrogen and carbon instead of carbon to carbon. Okay, so we get liquids and fats. Questions? Okay. So second type of macromolecule are carbohydrates. You probably know what these are, but the simplest term, carbohydrates create sugars, and there's several different kinds of sugars I'll go through in a minute. And then carbohydrates also form cell walls, and cell walls are present in cells that make up plants, algae, and bacteria. Okay. And they're made of a special kind of sugar called starches, and sugars come in different sizes. Basically, we'll talk about those. The function for carbohydrates is they provide bursts of short-term energy. They give off the electrons that cells need to do metabolic processes to give energy. Okay? Again, their monomers are of two kinds. There are simple sugars, and so that's monosaccharides, and then we have disaccharides as well. Okay, so simple sugars and disaccharides. Di means two. And these are made from CHO, carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. Okay, so some of the sugars that we see molecularly, we get chains of CHO. This is a simple sugar, so this is a monomer of fructose. This is a disaccharide, so it's a molecule of glucose. And then we also get them in rings. So glucose as a sugar comes in chain form, and it comes in ring form, okay, where the molecules double over on themselves and form a ring. Okay. So we have three kinds of carbohydrates. We have monosaccharides, or simple sugars, and this is the stuff that you find in fruits and you find in candy, and you find in that granulated sugar that we use to sweeten foods. These are the simplest ones for bodies to break down, break apart, and use the energy stored in their bonds, in their hydrogen bonds. So glucose, fructose, and ribose, if you look at a nutrition label on your food and you see those things, that's the stuff that's going to get you all kinds of wired, right? That's candy. And then we have disaccharides. These are a little more stable, a little bit harder for your body to break apart. They don't give you that jolt. These are things like sucrose, maltose, and lactose. And lactose is the sugar that is found in cow's milk products. And then we have big, complex carbohydrates. You might have heard that complex carbohydrates term used when we're talking about healthier foods. So these are larger molecules, polysaccharides. They are made up of monosaccharides and disaccharides. And these are things like starch, so a more complex carbohydrate that is found in the cell walls of plants, like cellulose And then chitin is a polysaccharide that makes up exoskeletons in some animal groups. And then glycogen, which is the sugar that your liver stores to use later. And then it goes, if it doesn't get used, it gets stored as a fat, gets converted. Okay? So make sure you know those. Monosaccharides, disaccharide, polysaccharide. Okay. Whew. Any questions? Okay. Protein. This is the third type of macromolecule. Proteins are super important. And a side note, really quickly. When we talk about macromolecules, sometimes the easiest way to talk about it, or the way that your brain might be thinking about it, is in terms of the foods that we eat, right? I talked about the fats, and then I talked about sugars, and I talked about the sugar you get in candy and stuff, which is true. Because the food you eat is organic material. It is generally made from previously living, or processed, pretending to be from living tissue foods, right? But it's more than that. Protein especially is more than just food. Proteins include all of the tissue structures that build a body, both in plants and animals. So when you hear protein, I don't want you to just think meat. That's kind of where everybody's brain seems to go, and that's not wrong, but that's not all. Okay? So it's not just food. Proteins include tissue structures. It also includes hormones. So most of the hormones whizzing around in your little teenager bodies right now are protein structures. Some of them are also fats. And then the most important protein, those are enzymes. Enzymes run all of your metabolism. They are what get your cells to work and make the compounds that your cells need to make, and burn the energy it needs to make, and make sure that your brain is working and your eyes are working and everything's working. That's all done by enzymes, and we're going to talk more about those in the future a lot. Okay. Proteins provide structure and function in cells. That was what I just said, only this is a simpler way to say it. And their monomer are monomers called amino acids, and these are molecules that come in 20 different forms. Your body can construct some of them by itself from molecules that you eat, but there are 13 amino acids that your body cannot make, and those are ones that you need to eat. They're usually found in animal protein. Okay? So their monomer is amino acids, and again, these combined, 20 different amino acids combined, and there are millions of different kinds of proteins. Millions! And they do all sorts of things in bodies. And again, we'll talk about enzymes coming up in the future. Proteins are built from the elements CHON, carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen. Okay, so far we have CHON. We have lipids made from CHO, carbs made from CHO, proteins are made from CHON. Proteins, again, they make all sorts of structures. They build in a body, they build muscles. They also build skin, hair, fingernails, and in animals, different animals, those fingernails are called claws. And those are made from special proteins called collagen and keratin. So your skin is made from collagen and elastin, which is another protein. And then pepsin. This is a protein that is a digestive enzyme. So this helps you digest food in your stomach. And then insulin is a hormone that is a protein. And insulin is used in your body to regulate how your body is using blood sugar, how your cells are taking blood sugar up to be used. Okay? And that's a super important one. People whose bodies don't make insulin, or whose bodies are resistant to absorbing insulin, they have what's called diabetes, and that can be quite difficult. Hold on, there's an announcement.
Jeff, if you're in the building, will you call the main office? Jeff, if you're in the building, you call the main office.
Oh, Jeff, you're in the building. Okay. And most of a body's metabolic functions are accomplished by proteins and enzymes especially. And enzymes are catalysts that help reactions in a body start and run without the body having to use too much energy. All right, last one. We're going to talk about this one, nucleic acids. Again, make sure you know how to spell that. Nucleic acids. What's this? This is genetic stuff. DNA and RNA molecules, and also there are other nucleic acids. There's tRNA, rRNA, mRNA, there's ATP, that's another nucleic acid. So these are molecules that generally store genetic code and genetic information. And we, again, I'm going to do a whole unit on that. Okay? And there are 4, 5, 6 different kinds of nucleic acid monomers. Their monomers are called nucleotides. Nucleotides are their monomers. In DNA, we have cytosine, guanine, adenine, thymine, and RNA, we add in uracil as another monomer. So nucleotides are their monomer. And nucleic acids, all of these nucleotides are made of carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, and phosphorus. Chomp. Chomp. Choppin'. Chomp. Right. Okay? All right. That's it. That's it. So you need to go look at the instructions for how to make the the monomer. I'm all right. Get done with the video, my brain just kind of skips ahead to the next thing I need to do. I gotta focus on what I'm doing now. You guys ever do that? Yeah, I've watched you do that in class. Anyway, your assignment, your task now is to go watch the instruction video. I love doing these for the macromolecule foldable. So go do that. Make sure you have all the water stuff done from earlier this week and last week, and let's keep going. I will see you in online class next week. Have a great day.